Hello friends, my name is David and you are watching Strange Things. There are many scary creatures in the world that would be more than happy to make quick work of us humans. Even the most terrible animals of today pale in comparison to the bigger, worse, and scarier creatures of yore. Here are some dangerous creatures that you'll be relieved to know are no longer around, including colossal carnivorous whales and child-eating eagles. Number 10. Ethereum andgustadance. Most individuals will run away in terror at the mere sight of a grizzly bear. But as compared to the Ethereum andgustadance, even fully adult grizzlies appear to be as harmless as cubs. The giant short-faced bear, as it was more often called, originated in South America and perished about 2.5 million years ago. The largest bear to have ever lived has the title of Ethereum andgustadance, with an average weight of about 2 tons. To give some perspective, the largest terrestrial carnivore alive today, the polar bear, weighs less than half as much as these prehistoric bears. Furthermore, these men had a standing vertical height of an alarming 14 feet, which is taller than a one-story structure. They may be quite tall and heavy, but surely that will slow them down. In light of the fact that this bear's close relative, the Arctodus simus, a member of a lesser species in the family of giant short-faced bears, is capable of a scary top speed of 40 miles per hour, it is conceivable that these individuals would have maintained a rapid pace as well. So there wouldn't have been much of a chance to escape unless you had wheels and an engine. And you would definitely want to escape. Broken fossilized teeth showed that the bear chewed on bones, which suggests that they also consumed meat. Thus, humans are probably just another juicy appetizer to them. Despite their athletic strength, these bears gradually disappeared some 500,000 years ago, being replaced by the medium-sized Ethereum vetustum. No one is certain how or why such a predatory force vanished, but it's probable that the large bear's feast was depleted by rising competition from carnivores like the jaguar, cougar, and dire wolf. Either that, or there is a bear that is much bigger out there that we haven't yet found. Number 9. Eagle. Fortunately, those big bears vanished some 400,000 years before the emergence of us Homo sapiens. Nevertheless, several long-extinct species once faced out against humans. Or, if the massive skeletal remains of the carnivorous eagle are any indication, toe to claw. Now, these specific remains were discovered in New Zealand's South Island. The bird's remains are so enormous, with a wingspan of up to 10 feet, that it is currently regarded as the largest eagle in history. The skeleton showed that it would have been about half as tall as an average man and about 40 pounds. 4 times as much as a bald eagle. These massive eagles' primary prey was the moa, a flightless bird that weighed 15 times as much as their hunter. Eagles slaughtered their victims by flying at them from behind, tackling them with their 3-inch talons that resemble knives, then grabbing and smashing the animal's skull, according to the remains of moas. Is anyone else experiencing a headache? Unsettlingly, it's probable that the eagle's menu had other dishes besides moa. Large birds swooped down and picked up a young child, who was never seen again, as described in legends from the native Maori people of New Zealand. But they had their comeuppance in the 16th century, about 200 years after the Maori people arrived in the South Island. The moa was presumably overhunted by humans, which ultimately caused the eagle to become extinct. And with that, the Maori kids could finally sleep soundly. Number 8. Megalania. Some of the enormous rats in New York have been known to grow to be the size of small dogs and house cats. Although New York rats may be large, their prehistoric predecessors were much larger. The Megalania, who lived between 4 and 2 million years ago, is now being introduced. Considered to be the biggest rodent that has ever existed. These South American monsters might grow to be 10 feet long and as heavy as 2,200 pounds. That is roughly equivalent to the weight of 12 adult persons, for context. However, there are additional dangers associated with these megarats besides size. Additionally, they displayed gruesome incisors that were nearly a foot long. According to computer modeling methods using the skull of Megalania, the rodents had a bite force of 3,600 pounds per square inch, or PSI, which is comparable to that of a saltwater crocodile. Fortunately, these enormous rodents were not carnivores. Scientists hypothesized that Josephortigasia used their incisors to protect themselves from predators, bite wood and nuts, and dig in the dirt for sustenance. And anybody who messed with these people would be chopped up in a matter of seconds with those enormous horrors in their mouths. The rat problem in New York City suddenly does not appear as serious. Number 7. Megalania. There were some true monsters roaming the Australian plains about 2.5 million years ago, but none could compare to Megalania, a massive monitor lizard. These ancient predators, which resembled a giant Komodo dragon, were more than twice as large as their Komodo ancestors, growing as long as 23 feet. Additionally, it is thought that Megalania had venomous glands in their jaws, similar to Komodo dragons, which produced hemotoxin. Before the hemotoxin entered the victim's bloodstream, Megalania's curved, sharp teeth would penetrate the skin of its target. The venom would then function as an anticoagulant, preventing the blood of the prey from clotting. As a result, the prey's blood pressure would drop quickly, resulting in systemic shock and eventual death. What ultimately led to the demise of this extremely large, deadly lizard? A Megalania bone was recently dated by University of Queensland researchers to be around 50,000 years old, which is roughly the same time that humans first arrived in Australia. It is currently thought that humans may have contributed to the extinction of the Megalania. It is unknown if men overhunted the huge lizards or killed them to protect themselves. The one thing I am certain of is that Australia, the place where almost anything may kill you, could have been much more scary. Number 6. Thylakoliocarnifex. The Megalania is not the last of Australia's primordial horrors, though. Between 2 million and 46,000 years ago, an extinct marsupial lion known as the Thylakoliocarnifex ruled the Australian desert. This wombat-lion hybrid, according to fossil evidence, was around 5 feet long, 2.5 feet tall, and weighed about 220 pounds. This indicates that they were slightly stockier, and roughly the same weight as a modern jaguar at their largest. However, Thylakoliocarnifex lacked the sharp canine teeth of jaguars. Instead, these enormous marsupials employed 2 sets of enormous incisors to puncture and pierce their prey's flesh. And it was a pretty strong stab. Their biting power was similar to an African lion weighing 500 pounds. They were able to do this because of their massive jaw muscles, which transformed each tooth in their mouth into a weapon. Their molars were built to crush their victim's windpipe and cut their spinal cord, while their incisors were intended to pierce the flesh of their victims. These frightening marsupials had enormous retractable thumb claws that they used to dismember their prey, as if that were not horrible enough. These marsupial lions would have been able to dispatch huge prey in under a minute, 15 times faster than an African lion. However, similar to the Megalania, their fierce characteristics were unable to save them from extinction due to climate change, which slowly dried out their habitat and decreased the available food. Wow, I never anticipated being grateful for climate change. Number 5. Gigantopithecus Blackie. Bigfoot is real, did you know that? Actually, sort of. Around 2 million years ago, Bigfoot, like ancient primates called Gigantopithecus Blackie, roamed the southern Chinese forests. Since only tooth and jawbone fragments have been found, precise size estimations are somewhat speculative. But even these are sufficient to estimate that they stood around 10 feet tall and weighed up to 1,200 pounds, which is roughly twice as tall and nearly 3 times as heavy as silverback gorillas. Due to its location in southern China, bamboo was probably a significant part of its diet. However, even a silverback gorilla is strong enough to beat a human into mincemeat. So I would not meddle with these things. What led to the extinction of such a large, broad beast is the question. Because it was so large and broad, obviously, the Gigantopithecus Blackie needed to consume large quantities of food to refuel. But about 100,000 years ago, as a result of a changing climate, more and more of the monkey's forest environment became savanna-like, drastically limiting their food supply. But who knows, maybe a couple made it and are still alive now. It would undoubtedly shed light on your mother's appearance. Number 4. Diodon. Nowadays, pigs are generally considered to be rather harmless, although this was not always the case. Diodon, often known as dreadful pigs, was causing havoc in North America 23 million years ago. It was 10 feet long, about 6 feet tall at the shoulders, and weighed a whopping 1,650 pounds, giving it a rhino-like build. But unlike rhinos, these creatures did not just eat plants. Look at the forward-facing eye sockets that are used to track the prey they are pursuing. They were predators, these pigs. According to recent research, since they lacked claws, they had to run alongside their victim and slam it with brute force in order to kill it. Almost like a police chase in nature. These strong piggies also had fangs that were around 10 inches long and made for tearing flesh to bits, which just served to make the situation more terrifying. Diodon is thought to have finally gone extinct around 20 million years ago as a result of rising global temperatures that drained both vegetation and prey animals. It's also fortunate. I guess you could say I kind of enjoy pig that won't want to eat me. Number 3. Spinosaurus. What would result from crossing a crocodile with a T-Rex? Nightmares are the correct answer. So you're right, because it would probably resemble the Spinosaurus, a monster that truly did exist. This massive creature, which could grow up to 59 feet long and weigh a monstrous 22 tons, is regarded as the biggest carnivorous dinosaur to have ever roamed the globe. However, they didn't typically favor eating terrestrial creatures. These dinosaurs are thought to have originated in North Africa and were aquatic creatures who mostly nibbled on a feast of fishy foods like enormous coelacanths, sawfish, and lungfish. Spinosaurus developed a long, crocodile-like snout with terrifying, 6-inch-long conical teeth that were adapted for penetrating slippery fishy prey to aid in this specialized diet. The purpose of the sail constructed of spines sticking out of its vertebrae is unknown. However, it has been speculated that it might have functioned like a fish's dorsal fin to provide stability in the water. However, global warming dried up the North African marshlands some 90 million years ago. Additionally, these giants were unable to adjust to eating different prey once their fishy feast was over. Any swimmers who are observing are probably not too upset about it. Number 2. Purosaurus. From dinosaurs that resembled crocodiles to, well, crocodiles. Crocs may be frightening enough, but the Purosaurus dwarfs them in size. This rabbit river monster once measured a staggering 35 feet long, which is around a school bus length. Even if it wasn't the same height as one, a saltwater crocodile was nonetheless twice as long as it was. It needed to eat, and it needed to eat a lot. Around 90 pounds of food were consumed daily by Purosaurus, 20 times more than the modern American alligator needed. And the straightforward response to the question, what did Purosaurus eat exactly, is anything. The planet was their banquet, with everything from huge ground sloths to car-sized Stupendomys turtles. Fortunately for them, their strong bite contributed to their ravenous appetite. The Purosaurus had a bite 20 times more powerful than a great white shark's, equal to 11.5 tons of pressure, according to paleontologists' calculations. Geez! And jaws seem scary to me. Number